Hello everybody, Sean here, and we are looking at Elder Scrolls Online Vampires. As you can see, my very pale skin indicates that I am quite the vampire, and maybe you want to be a vampire too. Who doesn't want to be Team Vampire? And don't worry, we don't sparkle in this game. As you can see, standing in sunlight, no sparkles. In fact, it actually makes my eyes look even cooler. But how do you become a vampire? Well, first, let's zoom to the map. And real quick, obviously, this is Ebonheart packed information, so keep that in mind when you're watching this. But the first time you'll probably encounter vampires is actually in Eastmarch. That's where you will first see them. Right here in the middle of the map at this location is a vampire quest line, some blood fiends being crazy vampires. They've basically gone mad with bloodlust. And this is probably where you'll first encounter them. Unfortunately, no matter how many times you let them hit you, you will not get infected. It does not matter what you do. These ones do not infect you. So don't waste your time trying to do that. Just finish the quest line and move on. Where you will first encounter them is here in the Rift area. During certain lunar cycles, the blood fiends will spawn at random spots around the map. One position I can 100% tell you does exist is right here at Fulhelm Fort, because I got infected right here. Right above this little piece of water, this is where at least 2 blood fiends will spawn, guaranteed, during the proper lunar cycle. And all you have to do is go up to them, draw your weapons, and block. Just continuously block. That way they keep punching you, but you won't take too much damage. And eventually, one of the punches will infect you with vampirism. Now, it took me about 15 seconds worth of combat before I got the active effect of vampirism. Other people have done it in 1 to 2 hits, and I've heard a couple people complaining that it took them a minute or two of getting punched by the vampires before they got infected. Whatever the time it takes, you just, while you're in combat, keep looking to see if you have the active effect, and once you have it, you can either run away or you can kill the blood fiends, and that'll be done. But now what do? You're infected with vampirism, but you don't have any of the abilities. What use is that? Well, you have to come to Riften and go just north. That's the north gate right here. Come out of the north gate, and you will find this fellow. Now, fortunately for me, this quest appears to be malfunctioning, as I am already a vampire. However, I can do the quest again. And I'm not going to do the quest again. It's a very, very easy quest. But basically, you talk to him, and blah, 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 thank you, Mother LeMay, and you will get the quest Sign of the Blood Matron. So there you go. And you have 1 or 2 options. Top right corner of the screen, in case you're wondering. Talk to Rahaja, or speak to the Priest of RK. If you speak to the priest, he will cure you of your vampirism. So if you do not want to be a vampire, follow the south, or the bottom option, and you just go into Riften. You can see I'm looking at it on the thing on the top, the little radar. However, if you do want to become a vampire, get on your horse and go for a short little ride up here. You can see, talk to Rahaja, but for the sake of time, we will just cut to that. So, see you in a second. So here we are, we're in the northeast part of the Rift map. Rahaja has come out to meet us, and if you want to begin your vampirism quest, talk to her, and you'll proceed up here. You will enter this shrine. You'll go on what I would say is a very easy quest. As long as you're level 30 or above, you could do it before that, but 30 or above should make it much easier for you, where you just learn the basics of the vampire people, how it all began, and once you finish the quest, you will come out as a stage 1, ready to go vampire. And you might be wondering, is there other ways to become a vampire? Do you have to go through this process? Especially because the blood fiends are very picky. They're hard to find, and they only come out at certain times of night. Is there another way? Well, there in fact is, and you've probably seen it in the chat. Multiple people shouting, do you want to buy vampire bites? Do you want to buy werewolf bites? Or if you see people offering other forms of bites, don't believe them. You can't become a zombie or a ghost or any of that stuff. But there are other ways. So, if you have a friend who has been a vampire for quite a while, or you have money to spend, although I never suggest paying for a vampire bite. It is a bit of a silly idea. But if you're really in a rush, you want to be a vampire at this instant, you can do it. And there's only 2 prerequisites, really. One, the person biting you has to have rank 6 vampires so that they have access to blood ritual. This is what allows you to bite another player. And the second thing is that they must only bite one person a week. So if they've already bitten someone in the past 7 days, they will not be able to bite you. You can only bite one person per week, and you have to be a rank 6 vampire to do so. But as long as you meet those conditions, all you have to do is take your character and your friend who is the vampire, come here, and once you're both here, a prompt will appear for the vampire person saying, do you want to bite your friend? You just hit yes. They will nom on you, and there you go. Once the process is complete, you will be able to activate the vampire quest, just as we did before, and go through it. You'll pop out. You'll be a stage 1 vampire, just like your friend. It's no different than if you did it the Blood Fiend way. Now that you are a vampire, what are their bonuses? What can you do as a vampire? Well, the vampires heavily favor DPS, and they also gain bonuses to magic. They are not suggested for tanks, and this is why. If you come in here, you will see you now have access, or now have an active effect called Stage X Vampirism. It will be 1, 2, 3, or 4. At Stage 4, you can see health regeneration 75% slower. That is a massive hindrance for tanks. So being a vampire is going to make it very hard for you to tank, and on top of that, you take 50% more damage from fire. So if you are fighting a fire-based boss as a vampire tank, you're going to be in for a bad time. There's just no way around that. Now, you can offset some of this by, say, being a Dunmer like myself. We have very high fire resistance naturally, so the bonus fire damage you take from vampirism is going to be offset a bit, so that it basically equals out that I take no bonus damage from fire, but I no longer have a resistance to fire. However, you still will have that very vicious 75% slower health regeneration. Now that is at Stage 4, so keep in mind, if you stay as a Stage 1 vampire and you never let it progress beyond that, you will have still quite a bit of health regeneration, and you could tank semi-effectively, but you will be hindered no matter what, so keep that in mind. Now the one perk you get for letting the stages progress, your vampirism abilities cost 60% less to cast. Now that is at Stage 4. I believe at Stage 1 it was only 15%, and then it will escalate from there until you get to the 60%. So that is the effect of vampirism. Now let's look at the skills real quick. You have 3 active skills. The first one you will get is the Drain. Now mine has been morphed to Invigorating Drain. I believe it starts out as Essence Drain. And this basically lets you siphon health from the enemy, basically like you're sucking their blood. You also gain access to Mist Form, which lets you turn into a cloud of mist so that you basically are invincible for a couple seconds. And you can see, take 75% reduced damage from all sources. And your ultimate is Bat Swarm, where you summon a bunch of bats. And don't worry, I will demonstrate these at the end of the video. And then your passive, Savage Feeding. After feeding, your target is off balance. It's done for 3¼ seconds. That's at rank 2. Supernatural Recovery. Increases Magicka and Stamina recovery by 5% per upgrade. So 10% total, which is a huge, huge boost. And very clearly shows why being a vampire is very good for DPS and magic classes. The Blood Ritual, which we already went over. Undeath. Increases damage mitigation when players below 30% health. Damage mitigation can increase to 50% as health decreases. Now, Undeath is the one trait that will make tanks very interested in vampirism, because basically what's going to happen as you take more damage, your defenses will go up to the point where you get nearly invincible as you get near the last 20 or so % of your health. This is very, very useful for tanks. There's no two ways about it. However, you are still going to suffer from a very stiff health regeneration loss. So, it really becomes up to you if you feel like the health regeneration loss is worth the defense bonus you gain. And that again will depend on your gear. If you're already in max level gear, Undeath might not be that useful for you. However, if you are not in max level gear, or maybe you're a DPS class who does some off-tanking, Undeath might be very interesting for you. So you might be interested in taking the health regeneration hit in favor of the extra defense. That is a choice that's up to you. Unnatural Resistance, health recovery is improved in Vampirism stages 2 through 4. So that's going to help offset the health regeneration massive debuff that you get, but it's not going to be a lot. It'll help, but it's not going to be a lot. And then your final passive is Dark Stalker, increases movement speed while sneaking and allows player to enter stealth more quickly at night. Basically, a great buff, especially if you play the Nightblade class and have the kind of the stealth tree already unlocked. But there you go. That is what it is to become a vampire, what you get for being a vampire, and you can see at stage 4 what I look like. And let's go out real quick and we'll take a peek at some of the abilities. If I could just find an enemy real quick to beat up on. Unfortunately, you don't get a lot of abilities as a vampire. You don't get, and you don't get to shapeshift like the werewolf, which could be seen as a hindrance by many. But real quick, so this is the mist form. And you literally just turn into a cloud of mist and you reappear. You can still be hit, but you gain a massive defense boost when you use it. And then the Essence Drain, or in my case, Invigorating Drain, you come up to an enemy here, hit them a few times, and then you could just, boop, use the Essence Drain, and you can see a string of blood basically coming from them and going into me. And then the final ultimate, I will have to cut to because I'm going to have to build my ultimate up. So one moment, please. And as I mentioned earlier, the final ability is the Ultimate Bat Swarm, which now that I have charged, I can activate. Looks very cool, and just does continual damage, magical damage, for 5 seconds to enemies nearby you. And you can see it did quite a bit of damage, nearly killed the one saber cat by itself, and the other one died because I was hitting it. Only lasts 5 seconds, but is very, very useful, and of course will get more powerful in time. But there you go, that is the vampire, how to become a vampire, and what you can do as a vampire. It's a very, very useful class, and a very good disease, I guess, to get. The only downside, of course, is the massive hit to your health regeneration, which might turn some tanks away. And you don't get a cool shape-shifting form like the werewolf, but you do get some pretty wicked-looking eyes, and in my book, that's worth it. So, there you go. I thank you for watching, and for more things ESO, keep it here at IGN.